Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the channel. Now, one of the things that attracted me to the Z9 was its advertised focusing abilities. I mean, since the early days of Nikon DSLR, we've often had various new focus offerings: dynamic area, Nikon D4S gave us group area, autofocus, the D5 offered us 3D tracking. Then we were promised face and eye recognition. Now, I've had a Z6 and I've had a Z7, and although the Z6 II and the Z7 II are actually better, I was starting to lose faith. I have to be absolutely honest with you. My eyes were starting to stray to other systems that appeared better, though they didn't always pass the camera and test, may I say. But now we have the Z9, the camera that Nikon have rested their reputation on. So just how good is its fabled focus? Well, in my last video I had some real success with some swans during my camera's debut, but now it's time to move up a gear. It's time to test the tracking system. It's time to start playing with the big boys, Mr. Z9, because it's time to play rugby. With just the Z9 and my Z70-200 for company, and yes, that is the glorious sound of the Z9 at full raw chatter. When the match got going, most of the business was taking place either at the far end of the pitch or on the far side. Now, I knew that if I moved away, the area that I'd vacated would then get all the activity, so I stayed put. I guess I was playing the odds. I consoled myself with the thought that it would give me a chance to see how the 45.7 sensor would help out, especially with some heavy cropping later on. As far as the focus was concerned, it became obvious that it wouldn't work if I relied on the camera to choose who to concentrate on, because rugby players never seem to hold on to the ball for very long. They either pass it on or they get landed on by the opposition. For this, I chose 3D tracking, as all I need to do was aim the large grey focus square near a player, and a smaller grey square generally found the face. I then locked on turning the smaller square yellow by pressing the shutter halfway. Although the focus was working quite well, the biggest problem I found was that the players in the game are often tied up in a bundle, with few faces showing. They become a sort of writhing mass in which individuals are hidden and indistinguishable, with the tails up in the air normally. It appeared that the best photos are to be got when a player is either running or at the start of a tackle, before everybody piles on, of course. In the second half, my decision played off, and I got a few opportunities to test the focus and buffer. Shame I'd left the CF Express hut card behind, really, wasn't it? The Sony XQD card did its best, but after about 3.3 seconds the buffer cut in and I only got stuttered shots after that. That wouldn't normally bother me, but when a rugby player was running flat out towards me, I could really have done with the Delkin Black. You know, the card that was sat on my desk 6 miles away in the office. So let's take a look at what the camera is actually doing. The focus is working okay, and you'll notice that I'm only using f4.5, so there's not much depth of field. And I have to say that the light was a lot lower than it looks like on this video. So once again, I'm looking for something to actually focus on. As soon as I get the centre grey box near it, the camera finds the face. I have to put it on the record, and it's a strange thing, but even though the focus doesn't look like it's necessarily on the person, the images are still really sharp and in focus. It's really very good. And I'd much rather have it that way than have the camera telling me that it's in focus when it's actually not. Now here's what I was waiting for. A person running flat out towards me, the focus stays in his face the whole time, and every one of these shots is absolutely spot on in focus. And don't forget that yet again these images are straight out of the camera. I haven't edited them or sharpened them in any way. In fact, I've done nothing apart from turn them into JPEGs. Here we have another player running to the line. The focus tracked him really well, and I love the amount of images that I got. Do you know, it reminds me of those old Flickr books you used to get. Next, I wanted to test the camera with dogs. Now, this subject is a bit closer to home for me as it makes up a large proportion of my business. And I want to see how the focus keeps up with them when they're running. I'll be panning as the dogs pass left to right, But the crucial one for me is dogs running towards me, because fast moving objects approaching at speed is one of the things that most cameras struggle with. Now these are all taken using the 3D mode again, as I want the focus to lock onto the dog's face. Yes, it stays on the face most of the time, doesn't it? Now let's take a look in slow motion. The most important thing to my mind is that the focus stays on the front of the face. But is that true? If that focus point is just behind the movement, will the focus still be sharp? Let's take a closer look at the JPEGs. Yeah, they're in focus from beginning to end. Now I'll tell you what, that for me is a complete game changer. To prove it, I've picked up 5 random images from the first run and cropped in to see how well the camera's kept the eyes in focus. Now, images 1 to 3 are absolutely crystal sharp, but the last 2 are soft. But to be honest, they were probably taken within the minimum focus range of the Z70 to 200, which of course is a metre. Well, it is when the lens is zoomed into 200mm like it was when I was using it. Okay, I did a second run and these were the photographs from it. And I have to say, they're absolutely awesome, absolutely stunning. We did a third run, and as you can see, we're in focus the entire way. You can even see the line of focus coming towards us on the grass. I mean, that's incredible. And as I say, that's a game changer for me. So let's up the ante a bit with a black dog. And of course the focus may well struggle with that. Well, that kept up the entire time. That was very impressive. Let's take a look in slow motion. The focus point's bobbing around the head a little bit at this point, but as long as the focus itself stays with the dog, it's okay. I think we can get a little bit bogged down with wanting the focus point to be glued to the object. As long as that object is in focus, in this case the eyes, then the camera has done its job. These are the images from that run, and don't forget, with that aperture there's very little depth of field. We did a second run and again the focus stays on the face. I can't tell you, I cannot emphasise how important this is to me and my business. The fact that I can take so many in-focus images of the dogs when they're actually running towards me, oh, I keep saying it, it's an absolute game changer. Wow, I'm just blown away. Okay, panning right to left this time. And now let's see what the images look like. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't be winning any awards for the background composition, but the images look pretty sharp. Now let's check the focus when random images are cropped in. The first, middle and last are all spot on once again. Okay, now we've got the black dog again. After the last test, I'm not expecting the camera to have any problems tracking her. Well, it seems the focusing stays on the head the entire time. I guess that's because she was moving a little bit slower, in honesty. I've managed to take 59 images during this run, which I won't bore you with. However, here are the first, middle and last of the run, both as taken and cropped in. That's all I've done with them. We actually did 2 more runs with her and the same results occurred. So all in all, I'm pretty impressed with the camera. So for the next subject, I chose birds. I've obviously done a floating swan before, but I thought I really need to do something that moves a little bit faster. So I headed out to the local nature reserve to do gulls. The action was a bit chaotic, so to show how the different focus modes perform, I've slowed the action down occasionally so you can see them working. I started off using the nature photographer's favourite for birds in flight, wide area large. You can see straight away why it's their favourite. It's so controllable. You track the bird by keeping him framed in the box. Now where it gets tricky is when you switch to 3D tracking. I found out I wasn't quick enough to lock onto any particular gull. In fact, they usually landed on the ground by the time I'd caught up with them. And I'd given it a good try, but the bottom line is I'd chosen the wrong mode for this situation. Time to wave the white flag and switch to auto area. Let's try auto area. Now in this mode, the camera chooses the subject, and though it worked pretty well, I wasn't totally convinced that I was the one choosing who to follow. And this is because auto area is programmed to focus on the nearest subject. So basically, I'm not in control. Once again, let's take a closer look at what the focus is really doing. Okay, I've managed to choose one that was planning on landing anyway. Try again. It's all a little frantic. I'll try to get this one. Yes, that's better. Now see how the focus has locked onto it. It all gets a bit frantic again. You see, I'm waiting for the camera to focus on one bird. And when it does, it works really well. Yeah, like that one. Okay, enough of that. I finished the session by changing back to wide area large. In this mode, I feel more in control of bird choice, and the acquisition was faster. Therefore, the whole process was smoother and quicker. And I definitely ended up with more keepers. This last set demonstrates how the wide large mode also chooses the closest subject. Though this time the choice is limited to inside the box, and you know what? That keeps me in control. Okay, finally I did a flying visit to a dog training session yesterday, mainly because it was being held in a dark indoor school, and I wanted to test the Z9 in low light and higher ISOs, of course, and I was comparing it to the D5 and the D6 II for a future video. I had the blocks shot setting to 3 instead of the 5 that I should have done, but I had ISO in mind, so you'll have to ignore the fact, and I apologise for it, because the camera's going to lose focus as the dog goes behind the barrels. There's nothing we can do it. But don't forget, this video is really a byproduct of the ISO test I was doing. So we started with a lighter coloured dog, and the focus seems to be keeping up with it okay, apart from the fact when he gets closer, you can see how it's dark because I'm using an ISO of 10,000 at this point. As I say, please ignore the lost focus around the barrels. It's nothing to do with the camera. It's entirely my setup. Actually, it didn't lose it then. Okay, now we've got a black dog. Well, actually, it stays on it rather well, doesn't it? Far better than I thought it would. Yes, I think I was rather chasing it there, wasn't I? So that was yet again handler error rather than actually, well, camera handle error rather than the camera itself. I asked this person to do the manoeuvres without going around the barrel so I could actually see how the focus tracks. And do you know what? I think it tracks rather well. Now, if I were to score the Z9's focusing abilities out of 100, I'd so far award it 110. Because not only does it work really well, but it makes using the camera fun too. Now, I know that sounds like an advert and I don't get paid by Nikon, but I was impressed by the way it captured the rugby and it captured the action. I think it made the job easier than it would have been with my D5. The speed it caught the fast moving gulls and the way it wasn't deterred by the relatively low indoor school lighting really excited me. It's a sad thing to get excited by, but it's absolutely true. The thing that left me really awestruck was the way it dealt with the fast approaching dogs. Because you see, I've tried it with most Nikons, a couple of Canons, a Sony, and none of them could approach the ability of the Z9. And that's my honest conclusion. And I know that's one heck of a statement to make, and I can't wear this phrase out enough. It's a total game changer for me. Now, if you want to see some of those low light images, let's see how it handles those, please be sure to watch the next video. And you know the best way not to miss it? That's right, click the subscribe button. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for putting up with me gushing about my new camera. Take care. See you soon. Bye.